Continuing completed classics. Fulfilling failed franchises. Reinvigorating reviled rehashes. It's the follow-up Showdown! With Paul Getz, Travis McMaster, and Lauren Pacorni.
Oh, hi, uppers. Are you okay, downers? And welcome to the follow-up Showdown 2, Nerds in Quarantine, where we give worthy second chapters to stories that don't have them. If this is the first time you're tuning in, the way it works is we explore a movie with either no sequel or a disappointing one, and each take a turn pitching our version of the best possible continuation until a winner is chosen. Now, the we I'm referring to includes myself and my guests, who today are a pair of lovely lovebirds that I have had the pleasure of knowing since college. She is an extremely talented actor and active streamer, while he is a filmmaker, editor / room fanatic, Erin Marie Hogan and Nick Gartner. Oh, hi guys, didn't know it was you.
Oh, what a surprise. Hello.
You're my favorite customer.
And the movie we were talking about today is the 2003 disaster piece, often called the worst movie ever made, The Room. And I'm super excited to do this with you guys because it was with you that I saw this for the very first time.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
There is no joy I get in life more than introducing people to this cinematic genius. So,
well, and I had read The Disaster Artist, the book, before I went to see the movie. Read it just out of weird interest, and then I really wanted to see the movie, and your guys' invite lined up perfectly. We went to the famous theater where it premiered, right? That's where it premiered, right? In Westwood. Mm-hmm. And Tommy was there, and it just could not have been more amazing. And it definitely, even having read the book, way exceeded my expectations for its
He's a larger-than-life character. Seeing him in person, it was like, you are exactly what I expected you to be, but somehow you are so much more.
Yeah.
I found that it's impossible to fake Tommy Wiseau. If you think it's him, it's definitely him, because no one can sincerely do a Tommy Wiseau like Tommy Wiseau can. Many have tried.
I'm going to be keeping track somehow in this episode of how many times any of us slip into the voice, because I find that while it's rare someone does a perfect Tommy Wiseau, it is always fun to try.
True.
I did want to offer it up to one of you guys if you were interested in doing what's normally our Travis McMaster Minute. A Minute with McMaster. In which we break down everything that happens in the movie in 1 minute. Do you think either of you would be up for the challenge?
Oh man.
I could give it a shot.
Okay.
The movie does there's so much that happens.
There is and there isn't. You know what I mean? I feel like it is going to be a little bit hard to get everything in, but we'll see how you do. So let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Go.
We open on San Francisco. Tommy walks in the room. He has flowers behind his back. Anything for my princess. Sex scene. Exit sex scene. I love Tommy. Mom enters. I don't love Tommy. Mom leaves. Tommy enters again. Sex scene. I forgot. No, Danny entered. Denny entered before. Tried to interrupt sex scene. Weird. Forget about that. Okay. Mark enters. Mark has a conversation. They're all friends. They all leave. They all come back. They all go to the roof. They all come back downstairs. Let's see. We start to get the idea that Lisa is a manipulative bitch. Let's see. Mom shows up again. Mom has breast cancer. Let's see. Mom leaves again.
But don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Mark comes in. Tommy's not there. Sex scene. Mark leaves. Tommy comes back. They drink scotchka. And then also a short sex scene. Next day, oh shit, I'm out of time.
You're out of time, but I mean, I was just going to let that go. That was very enjoyable.
Tuxedos, football, suicide. There, I'm done.
Okay.
That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, that is about it. And also, his name is Johnny. I guess is the biggest note I have on
Oh
your
yeah,
break.
sure.
But it's, I mean,
Is it though? Is
yeah,
it?
it's a very good point. This is going to be an interesting episode because it's like my writer, director, actor notes, all those kind of things aren't as prevalent this time because this is such a well-known movie, especially probably in the podcast world and on the internet, where it's sort of like everything about it is pretty well known.
It's
maybe
widely regarded by literally everyone for many reasons.
There's a memoir written by Greg Sestero, the co-star of the movie, and then it was made into the 2017 movie The Disaster Artist with James Franco, so everybody maybe knows it best from that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where most of the room heads are.
I've recently talked to a couple of people that I play video games with who have not seen it, but have seen The Disaster Artist. And they don't seem to understand that they need to watch The Room. It is equally, if not more ridiculous than The Disaster Artist makes it out to be.
While I enjoy The Disaster Artist, The Room is a more enjoyable experience.
Agree.
There really is something uniquely ridiculous and enjoyable about The Room that you cannot accidentally create.
I think we've had this conversation before that like the perfect bad movie is just a combination of passion and drive and complete lack of talent.
Yeah. And yet he has a star quality to his lack of talent, because if you had that same movie with that same plot, even all that same dialogue, but an actor who was more on the level of everyone else in the movie, it would be really boring. Whereas
he's an all-American hero.
Yeah, you're right.
He's not a villain. Not a villain. He's an all-American hero.
He's an everyman, like all of us. You'll see yourself in this movie. I remember right after the movie stepping outside with you guys, and one of the first things I said was like, I feel like it's clear that he got cheated on at some point. And yeah, that was exactly what you both just were like, yeah, I think that's clear.
At some point.
A well-known thing about Tommy Wiseau, the man himself, is that he's very secretive. Nobody knows where he's from. Nobody knows where his money comes from. Right.
Yes.
He grew up.
Yeah, this breakup could have happened at any point in the past, present, or future. How old he was and how old he is now is still unclear.
According to TommyWiseau.com, he is just now 51.
Oh, okay. Which is the same age as Greg, right? Greg's 51 as well.
Yes. Clearly the same age. Well, and there's lots of speculation about where the money came from. I feel like the most well-known one is there was a car accident, or at least I know that he was in a car accident at some point. It's part of his backstory.
It's something about him being a hockey player as well.
Really?
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one either.
I swear it was you who told me that, but I heard that somewhere, that he used to be a hockey player as well.
He owned a bunch of buildings in San Francisco, though, so like whether he invested early on and got those, I don't know how you get into the San Francisco real estate market early, quote unquote, as a teenager from the Bayou moving there in the early 80s, but who knows, man.
Right, because in the early 2000s he would have been 19. Right.
Yeah.
So,
boy, have you guys seen? I'm jumping ahead here, but have you guys seen pictures of the guy who plays Denny now?
No.
Well,
how
is his hairline holding up? I was wondering, because that was something I was mesmerized by rewatching it. I was like, I don't remember that hairline, and it's pretty epic. But the whole movie is so epic that I guess it got lost.
I mean, I remember him being creepy and seeming too old for the things he was doing, but he seemed even more too old than I remembered this time.
Yeah.
But the character is also too old to be doing what he's doing, even as written.
He's supposed to be in college, right?
He's supposed to be 18.
He's supposed to be in college, and those are things that a very small child might do if they had like a social disorder. So something is wrong with Denny throughout the entire thing.
One of my fun facts, I came across a really fun fan theory that I like, that Denny is a house cat played by a person, which I think works for almost every scene, with the exception of the Chris R. drug dealer scene.
Sure. Yeah, I can't see a man on a roof demanding money from a cat.
Yeah, well, I mean, a cat wouldn't have given a fuck about that anyway. He would have just walked away.
Well, no, I guess it's maybe not that scene, but it's another rooftop scene where Denny talks about his girlfriend that we never see, that apparently lives.
Oh, he also loves her. He loves Lisa.
He also loves her. He's in love with Lisa, but he loves his girlfriend and wants to marry and have babies with her.
With
Elizabeth, I think.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Everyone in this movie's got a name, no matter how insignificant their role. It's something that a bunch of struggling actors would write. No one wants to see party guest number 3 on a IMDb page. I need a name.
Although
remember Betty? That's her name.
That's like a bunch of actors who don't understand the business yet. That's exactly what they would do.
I did note that in the credits, with the exception of all of the coffee shop customers are just coffee shop 1, coffee shop 2.
Yeah, and it's not coffee shop guest, it's just coffee shop number 1.
You're right.
Yeah.
Multiple coffee shops.
Yeah.
They're all coffee shops. There are no humans in that scene, just many coffee shops.
Ordering cheesecake.
Yeah, the cheesecake is to die for.
Yeah.
Best acting in the entire movie, by the way.
But yes, to answer your question about Denny's hairline, it is way back, and it is almost entirely white gray. He looks really scary.
Old he was then. Okay.
He was 26. He was older than Greg. Well, the only things I feel like are worth noting, the budget on the movie was $6 million. Everybody always asks how.
I know. They bought all the equipment.
Yeah.
Well, they bought all the equipment, and they also shot both digital and film for everything.
On a custom camera mount with the cameras filming at the same time.
With a crew that knows what they're doing.
And multiple custom-built sets. The rooftop, of course, surrounded by the green screen, which, of course, contains the shed that functions as the entrance-exit to the building.
Yep.
The apartment itself was a set with a staircase that didn't exist or function.
400
square foot apartment with 2 stories.
No kitchen.
And the alley, which was a recreation of an alley that existed. I feel like that's pretty famous from the trailer for The Disaster Artist, that they just built a completely unnecessarily shot. Set.
Real Hollywood movie.
Yeah. Also, if Tommy owns buildings, they could have done the rooftop on one of his buildings.
True. That could have been done, but different decisions were made, and that's what makes it so epic.
Yeah, every single choice made. And I'm, again, jumping ahead here, but I feel like it's very clear that what he wants most to do as an actor is act passionately like Marlon Brando. Yeah. Yet when you get to the scene that is specifically for that, the tearing apart of the apartment scene, while he is yelling and breaking things, he is so dispassionate in his movements. It's like he can't focus on moving his arms and yelling at the same time.
He does grind that red dress passionately.
That is, he nails that part. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And really
literally and figuratively.
Yes. And I would say in general, his grinding is passionate throughout.
Mm-hmm. Poor understanding of anatomy, perhaps, but
but that ass, we all wanted it.
Oh,
he gave it to us. So then, other projects before and since that Tommy's been involved with, Greg has referred to a Super 8 student film that Tommy made called Robbery Doesn't Pay. That I guess that's a lost one we won't be able to see. There's a documentary he directed and appears in called Homeless in America that I don't know if that's findable.
I've searched deeply for both of those with the hope that I would find them, but I've struck out.
Fortunately.
And then since most of his stuff has been more parody stuff, Adult Swim shows. I know Tim and Eric did a full episode featuring just him. And I know when we saw The Room, there was like previews for that Neighbors show, which looked horrible.
Right. It was.
Oh, so you watched that?
No, I watched the whole web series. Yeah, it was painful. Tommy plays 2 characters, principal and then like the building super or whatever. But it's exactly what I was talking about, where you have to have this passion and drive and just this complete ignorance of what you're doing being completely strange. And it's way too self-aware, and it's just trying to capture the lightning in the bottle that The Room was.
Yeah.
But doing it so intentionally that it just falls flat.
Sure. The one that I have interest in, and I'm hoping you'll let me know if it's a go or not, that is out there right now is a 2-part movie written by Greg Sestero called Best Fiends, starring the two of them.
I've not seen it.
It doesn't look like it's the same vibe. I think it's funny that it's a 2-part movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess because it's written by Greg, he seems at least a little more normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems to be fairly self-aware, to be honest, which I think is something that Tommy just lacks, which is what's so awful in a person, but fabulous about Tommy Wiseau.
And he does seem kind. You know what I mean? It's not like I want bad things for him.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't seem like somebody who's out to hurt anybody, though it seems like in the filming of this he may have.
Yes. I thought that this time around I wasn't going to notice anything new, but one thing I did notice that I didn't notice before is I paid special attention to see what happens to Chris R. after they wrestle the gun away from him. And I never clocked the line that Tommy says, which is, let's take him to the police.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're gone for a total of 2 minutes. So either the police station is next door or they walked him outside and said, you go take yourself to the police station.
Well,
please.
I was actually wondering about, did Mark come back? Because I know Johnny comes back.
They both come back.
They both come back.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so yes.
They all cry and hug afterwards. And,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're all disappointed in Denny, but they love him. And
I did.
Yeah, so who cares about selling drugs?
I many times over the years check myself as to whether or not the character is Denny or Danny, but only because of Tommy's accent and how fun it is to assume it's Danny.
I always say Denny.
Yeah.
I always say Danny.
Yeah.
Last night was the first time that I actually was like, oh, damn, his name's Denny, isn't it? I've always thought it was Danny. They all just say, oh, hi, Danny.
I feel like everybody else's name is pretty basic, too. I guess Denny's a name.
I mean, the only name that has really any pizzazz is Chris R, which is just...
Chris R is an amazing name.
I hope that guy is an epic rapper right now.
Which, by the way, I will say, out of all the great performances in The Disaster Artist, Zac Efron as Chris R was the best.
Oh, man. I have a particular love for Nathan Fielder as Peter as well.
Yeah.
But I think
cast.
It was hard for me to know whether it was the performance or just watching him in that big suit. And like,
this man is a psychologist. He's the smartest of all of them. Why is he the only one whose suit can't be bothered to be fit in?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Also, they all keep asking him for advice, and then like 30 seconds later, they're like, "Don't tell me what to do or what to think."
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
The violent bursts from Greg in particular are really like consistent throughout the movie. In fact, something I was noticing in this rewatch was while I believe that they are all just wrong choices, if you read into them wanting it to work enough, there are like enough clues that Lisa, because I feel like a big point of contention is that she says she loves Johnny, but she hates Johnny. But I think it's mostly she doesn't like him.
Yeah, I think Peter's 100% correct when he says that she's a sociopath.
Right.
Which she clearly learned from her mother.
Yeah, and her mother, who's always defending her staying with Johnny, but only because of money, and who really is so nonchalant, even in her like insistence. She's like, well, but whatever, I gotta go. Even,
her friend who tries to hear her out and tell her the right thing to do, but also keep her secret.
Right?
Michelle, But everybody that Lisa confides in about this tells her, well, Johnny buys you stuff, so don't break his heart. He bought you a car that one time.
It's important to note then that Claudette turns on Johnny instantly the second he won't give her friend the down payment for a house.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, and at that point, it's because he didn't get his promotion. All they care about is that promotion. And
Lisa clearly learned this somewhere.
Well... And I feel like it's important to note everyone that Lisa confides in is everyone besides Johnny. Mm-hmm. Like every other character in the movie knows what's going on.
Everyone knows, and they're all saying, "Don't hurt Johnny."
Well, they do also say he's sensitive; it will destroy him. So, like, they all know he'll probably kill himself.
But they all just sit there saying, yeah, no, continue to lead him on. It's the right thing to do.
After everything blows up in Lisa's face, kind of, like the confrontation happens, Johnny finds out. Claudette has the same amount of nonchalance in her, like, oh, Johnny's a smart man. He'll come around. Like, there's no, I told you. I mean, there's no, like, wrap up to that. But then the other thing I wanted to note was that throughout the movie, it's a thing. She says she hit him. He says he didn't. He tells Mark he didn't. He tells himself he didn't. He tells Lisa he didn't. But in the scene where he tells Lisa he didn't, we do see him shove her twice.
Yeah. He's defending himself against alleged domestic abuse.
Yeah.
And proceeds to domestically abuse this woman.
Yeah. It makes me question whether he did or didn't. Especially because we do know she got him drunk, which he's not used to.
On Scotchka, which is
everyone knows Johnny doesn't drink.
And what I give somebody who doesn't drink is definitely scotch and vodka, full glass and a tumbler, no ice.
But it tastes good. Yeah. You're right, it tastes good.
It's good.
The nonchalance thing also is, you know, when Johnny confronts Mark and her, we cut forward and the party is just continuing with the two of them slow dancing as if nothing happened. The entire party is so confusing.
They're not just slow dancing, they're kissing each other in front of everybody. And what's so bizarre is to break that up at all. Because the fight happens and then Johnny goes, I'm sorry, Mark. He drops it.
Over.
Yeah.
Right. And then comes back in and starts another confrontation as though he's surprised.
Yeah, why couldn't that scene have just continued? It's so...
I think they wanted to figure out a way to get in Michelle and Mike feeding each other cake again, briefly. That might have been why.
Well, I mean, it's detrimental to the storyline that these two people we have no emotional attachment to feed each other cake.
And just always horny for each other.
And then that's another thing I wanted to mention is Lisa leads everybody outside, doesn't go outside so she can make out with Mark, then gets caught by Steven, right? The Peter replacement.
That guy I don't remember. Yeah.
But then goes outside, and then at the end of that goes, let's go back inside and eat cake. When we already saw Mike and Michelle eating cake. Which made me assume everybody was already eating cake, but then...
We did see the table, and there was only one piece missing.
Correct. So they took the only slice.
Which is weird.
Yes.
Yeah, which is pretty weird for a birthday party to just have... Like, I mean, who are Michelle and Mike, these assholes who just cut into the cake by themselves without anybody singing happy birthday?
Well, they also break into the apartment and have sex whenever they want. So I guess that's
true.
The type of people they are.
I mean, not even break in, though. Apparently they have a key.
Right.
And Johnny doesn't mind.
That party, I feel like, is talked about and being planned for so many scenes in a row. It's so confusing when the party is happening because they're talking about it as if it's happening like that night, and then in 4 days of stuff goes by before it happens.
And in between, I guess they all try on their tuxedos for some reason.
For the wedding, right? I assume.
For the birthday
but they're
party.
just trying them on all at once.
And the wedding is in a month.
A month, yeah. So
but they
all just randomly.
But they say it's in a month from the beginning of the movie, and then it seems like at least 2 weeks worth of stuff happens, and they're still saying it's a month. Yeah, time is crazy. Also, like, he starts recording. He finds out so early in the movie that she's cheating on him because he overhears her, and then he starts recording her, and then the whole movie happens before that gets picked up on.
And overhears her on the stairs 6 feet away from them.
Yeah. Kind of almost feels mean to just point out plot holes.
It's a masterpiece. But that's the thing is, like, that's what makes this movie amazing is all of these just insane plot holes just make it even more charming for some reason.
Famously, he only handed the actors pieces of the scripts for whatever day they were shooting. So it definitely seemed like it was shot without any sort of organization and then just sort of cobbled together, I guess.
Yeah, there's very few consistent choices.
And so little plot, ultimately, even though there's so many people talking and giving so many details. I love...
But nothing really happens.
The amount of detail he goes into about how him and Lisa met, which is just... He, like, saw her...
He saw her drinking coffee and said hi.
Yeah. And then the interesting part is she paid for dinner on their first date.
Uh-huh.
And then as he moved to San Francisco with only
a $2,000 check from an out-of-state bank.
Yeah, he couldn't cash it because it was from an out-of-state bank.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, God. Okay, yeah. All right. His second full-length directorial effort is still to come. It was supposed to be released in September of 2019, but wasn't finished in time. It's called Big Shark. There is a trailer for it online. It's starring him and Greg Sestero and a third guy, and it looks very B-monster movie. I assume you've...
Yeah, Erin, did you didn't see it, right?
I did not see it.
But hard to hold out hope. Maybe there'll be...
I don't think you're going to top The Room.
Before I watched the trailer, I thought, Big Shark would be a metaphor for something, but then it's actually a big shark, which was surprising.
Well, and it's them saving New Orleans from a big shark.
Yeah.
It's not personal enough. You know what I mean? It's not.
Well, no, I mean, it's about his childhood.
We know that Tommy is from New Orleans, so maybe he had to save it from a big shark.
If anyone did, and we didn't hear about it, I'm sure it was Tommy.
Definitely him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he understands what a not great job he did at telling a coming of age, relatable, dramatic story.
Well, I do have a question about, because his influences seem to be like classic movie actors. James Dean, Tennessee Williams, he's always talking about Marlon Brando. But what is he basing the 4 sex scenes within 30 minutes on? That is an artistic choice I don't understand outside of being someone who watches like softcore porn. You know what I mean? Where else is he seeing that and assuming, oh, this is drama, this is high American art?
Well, I know he is technically from Louisiana, but if he did have any sort of background in Eastern European cinema, let's just say hypothetically, there is quite a bit more romantic sex scene sort of interactions in those films. It might be based off of that, or it might have just been a marketing choice because Lisa's such sex bomb, that people just want to see that package unwrapped. I do feel bad. I feel bad mocking that actress at all because
I feel terribly for her.
I know she probably never would have gotten as famous without The Room happening, but like she legitimately was the worst off coming out of that film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I have an issue with the phrasing of wouldn't have gotten that famous because I think that people think all actors want to be famous. And I'm sure he wanted some kind of notoriety, but I'm not sure anybody would choose this type.
Sure.
It feels really bad knowing that she was cast in this role where everybody's talking about how beautiful she is. And, she's an averagely attractive. And on the set, even with a crew that knew what they were doing, the environment there definitely did not allow them to do her any additional favors.
Taking out of account everything she's gone through since the release of this movie, like just watching the scenes that she does and how much she is willing to do to give. It's like it's hard, and it's hard to think how uncomfortable that must have been.
I remember telling Nick, I was like, I've had a lot of nudity and a lot of sex scenes, and I cannot imagine signing up for a film where I have this many sex scenes, particularly where I have multiple sex scenes where the lead actor that my sex scenes are with is the guy who wrote it and is directing it, because that always feels like some kind of personal, you're trying to get at me thing. It makes me very uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Well, and the other guy is like his best friend, or at least the other guy making the movie.
Anytime somebody casts themselves as somebody who is highly regarded in the film, it's weird. It's kind of creepy for everybody, I think. And then when they have multiple sex scenes,
and all of them are missionary, so even putting all the rest of it out of your mind, the idea of someone being on top of you for that long,
grinding your midsection.
You're knowing that this is the person who wrote this is the person who chose you to be underneath them for this extended period of time without a shirt on.
It's almost weird to me to watch the later Greg sex scene to some extent, because because Tommy is so clearly strange.
Right.
And I feel like anyone who met Tommy would sort of get that from him. Whereas Greg, his willingness to do that. And I also think Greg's is the longest one.
I think so.
Oh, really? No, I think the "You Are My Rose" song.
You Are My Rose. You Are
Tommy,
My Rose.
that one is really, really long. That has to be the longest. It at least feels
Maybe it's just maybe the Greg one, and hopefully this is the case. Maybe they're reusing footage and just like cycling it, because I definitely feel like the visuals in the Greg one feel so like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
At least with Tommy, there's like a build to
footage.
Here's his butt. Here's his.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah.
There's some rose touching.
Yeah.
For me in particular, one of the things that is the most uncomfortable, and in every scene like that I've ever done, I've always gotten, can you make some sounds? And all the sex scenes I've done, all the nudity I've been willing to do, it's always, can you make some sounds? And I say, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's where I draw the line. It just makes me so uncomfortable. So watching these and hearing all of these sex noises that were obviously added after the fact, like these people had to come back in, or after shooting the scene, they had to sit there and moan into a microphone. They had to do this again.
I was going to say one thing that I think is fun, like a staple of bad movies is when you can spot ADR really easily. This is a movie where I go back and forth with not being able to tell, specifically because of Tommy.
Yeah.
It's just because the way he speaks and the way his face moves, it's hard to tell if he's ADR'd or not. But those sex scenes, like 100%.
Yeah, it's very obvious. Obviously, they're not even touching each other, and there's already some Lisa and moaning going on, and they haven't even gotten into a bed yet.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not what was going on at the time.
There's different charm all over this thing. There's like, well, that wasn't a mistake, but that's weird. There's that was clearly a mistake.
There's different levels of what is going on here that happen throughout the entire thing. You can't do this on purpose.
Right.
You can't.
You have to
accidentally do this. You can't. This has to be, you really thought you were doing something.
And you were also, but at the same time, you were also just trying a bunch of stuff. You know, and then leaving it all in.
Right, and
like
not taking
the flower
anything
shop
out.
scene, the infamous flower shop scene. Like, why is that in there at all? Who would write that? Why would they shoot it like that?
Yeah.
What is the purpose of it, except for him to get the red roses for her? Like, why did he decide that he had to show him getting the red roses to bring them to her and not just show up with them?
And yet it accidentally adds so much. I mean,
it does. It's amazing.
It's extremely important that we know that everybody in this town, not just the people in this building, love Johnny.
I think that is to some extent important in terms of selling the narrative.
That's a good point. Yeah. He is everyone's favorite customer.
Yeah, but I think my favorite thing about that scene, only because it's probably the scene I've seen the most, at least in terms of a full scene, but his parking job was my favorite thing this time. Because he was just hanging out so far into the street.
Oh, hi, doggy.
Okay, well, we could just talk endlessly about this, and I'm glad we are, but before we get into the pitches and all that kind of stuff, I did want to mention some other sequel type things that exist. There is a musical called Oh Hi, the musical, which I only listened to the first track of, and it was too bad. To some extent, further chronicles the Denny and Chris R backstory, as well as giving you a little bit of a backstory to Johnny, Lisa, Mark, and their love triangle. Some prequel vibes there.
Okay.
There is The Room, the video game, just like a point and click adventure online. That fills in.
There's a video.
Yeah. It has Chris R escaping prison and stealing Johnny's car and killing Peter in a hit and run during Johnny's party to explain what happened to Peter, and also shows that Johnny was an alien inhabiting a human body who, when he's killed at the end, goes back to the mothership lamenting that humans are evil or women are evil or whatever, and then dances with his fellow aliens, all of whom look like naked Tommy Wiseaus. So that sounds pretty fun.
I now know what we're playing on my stream on Tuesday.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
I have said many times watching this, is Tommy himself an alien because he clearly thinks this is how humans interact with one another.
The last sort of weird prequel thing is that the woman who plays Michelle, Robin Paris, she made a mockumentary web series called The Room Actors, Where Are They Now?, which features everybody sort of, with the exception of Greg Sestero and Tommy, doing like interviews and then short cut scenes of like fake versions of where they are now. And they're all kind of dressed in their wardrobe.
The mockumentary I have not seen that much of. Interesting.
Yeah. I would say the one person that I kind of hoped would have gotten work out of this, because you just see her acting 100 she's at 100% the whole time, is Claudette.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What she did with the character, it's very organic and natural, and it's impressive to be able to deliver all those lines in such a way that are believable.
Yeah.
And like definitely credit goes to her. We were talking about that yesterday too.
Yeah.
Oh, I did want to actually ask about this because Kim constantly brought it up. I understand that Tommy looks wise is not everybody's cup of tea necessarily, but she kept commenting on his skin, which didn't stand out to me.
Yeah, it is.
He has the physique of someone in their mid 40s at the time, who still works out a lot, but is trying to keep himself in shape. But they've aged quite a bit. I think that's what he looks like.
So loose. There's some looseness, basically.
Yeah, I've always gotten the idea from his face that he had some procedures, but was much older than even we realized.
Because he looks like wax.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. The way that it always seemed to me was that he had work done a while ago and has aged out of that, and that work isn't working anymore.
Which
that's kind of the impression.
Which is,
that
I guess,
got.
what usually happens. Yeah.
Right.
I would say 60s.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
I would say he's probably 10 years older than him.
Yeah, I would say mid to late 60s.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I would say when The Room was filmed, there is no way he wasn't at least 42. That's the youngest I would ever put him at. That's going to be my bottom figure.
In his 20s, early 20s, at that point, really puts into perspective the life that guy had at the time. All right. Yeah. Well, so then moving into the questions I always ask before we get into the pitches, I feel like we've definitely kind of gone over this one, but perhaps there's more to say. Should this movie have a sequel?
I think we've seen that it is a lightning in a bottle situation, and there's no way to recapture the essence of it. It just will never.
Well,
work.
and I was trying to think of scenarios in which it would be possible. I guess the only scenario that works is that he's sort of like made several movies at once before releasing any.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
You have it like it would have to be a Neil Breen situation, I guess, would be the best example of that.
So I have yet to venture into that as much as I've seen clips, and I'm very excited to do so. But that, I mean, he doesn't have. He almost is like an anti-Tommy, and that his essence is like super flat.
Yeah.
Sure, but he was able to continue making a film every 3 or 4 years. And he made 4 or 5 of them before he really got any sort of national attention. So they all are fitting in this sort of Neil Breen world where they are Neil Breen movies without any sort of outside influence or awareness.
Okay, so that sounds like...
Yeah, that may have worked.
I mean, I want to say that's what I wish had happened to Tommy, but The Room is so amazing as a singularity. No point in wishing for more, I guess.
If that were the case, The Room would not be what it is, because it was so obviously, like, the people who made this, like, obviously put their entire heart into this. And if they were going to do another project, I don't think that The Room would have been as passionate as it was, and subsequently as epic.
Yeah, well, and even I think the best thing to hope for in that scenario, like a Neil Breen scenario with Tommy, would be that he made just other movies, because like the idea of making a follow-up to The Room doesn't make much sense. Like what we're doing today is ridiculous for a variety of reasons.
There are so many reasons.
Not only because of where Johnny ends up at the end, dead, but also because even if he wanted to make more, that cast probably wouldn't have been game.
No way.
Okay, but if you're going to do it, as we are today, sequel or prequel? What do you think is the sweet spot?
Sequel.
So I'm going for sequel personally. Okay. I don't think there's a lot to delve into prequel wise. All the backstory that is discussed in the movie is funnier as just one-off sentences, I think, rather than scenes.
Although I can see Tommy Wiseau making an entire movie about meeting Lisa at a coffee shop. That man is the only man that could make that story a full-length feature film.
Sure. The first scene is him trying to cash a check.
Sorry, this is from an out-of-state bank. What? Yeah. I do have a prequel pitch. But it's also a prequel that turns into a sidequel. The perfect scenario for how this would have been made is that Tommy filmed all of these scenes as well, and just never released them. Or it was like a lost movie. Okay.
Got it.
That's me.
So it's called The Vault. In it, we see Tommy working as a banker, which that alone I want to see so badly.
Absolutely.
You don't even get to see it at all. And I want to see it so bad. And we see all of his ideas that are being put into practice, saving the place bundles, which include the design of a brand new state-of-the-art vault that is talked about, but we never see. In it, we meet Johnny's favorite customer, the only one he talks to within scenes for more than just like a courteous, like, oh, hi, nice to see you, bye.
So I hear you want an FHA loan.
So this is the one customer that we see him have several conversations with. They're only loosely about banking. He's giving financial advice so that this person can save for an engagement ring for his girlfriend or whatever. So it's about love. We also meet a female customer who obviously has romantic feelings for Johnny. It's almost like adds to the tragedy that he should be with her, but he won't because he loves Lisa so much. Like she likes him for the right reasons. Type of thing. The final major characters we meet in this are the assistant manager who loves Johnny and is always defending how hard he works, to the evil manager. I almost had it a woman because they talk about how women are evil, but
it is very Tommy for the evil manager to be.
Yes, but I think he refers to them as a son of a bitch at some point.
True.
Okay, so the evil manager, a man who basically baselessly hates him and can't wait to not promote him. Throughout the movie, we see Lisa and Mark and Denny come by to visit Johnny at work. Denny, who is specifically trying to get money from the bank, adding to his Chris R. subplot. There is an interaction with Lisa and the girl who earnestly likes Johnny, in which Lisa, evilly flaunts their relationship in her face. We see Johnny get past it for the promotion, even though he has just gotten them their biggest new client. We also see him get fired, something that he doesn't know how to tell Lisa about. So this happens during the action of the room, which explains why in that one scene where he leaves dressed for business and then you only see him wandering around San Francisco. Like that's like what he does all day. Yeah.
For a job.
Oh.
Or he's just pretending to be working because he's been fired and he doesn't know how to tell Lisa. Sure. And I think also gives a little bit of a further explanation as to why he kills himself, because he has nothing. Cheap. And then I have here as an epilogue, when Johnny's favorite customer finds out about his death, he breaks up with his fiance on the spot for no reason. Extra giggles. So that's The Vault. That was my prequel bit.
That is a very Tommy choice.
That is, yes.
So does anyone else want to go next?
You want me to go?
Sure. I don't want to influence anyone with mine because I'm taking a little bit of a left turn.
Well, okay.
You sure about that? Maybe I'll change my mind.
All right. So mine is a sequel in which we follow Mark in his trial for the murder of his best friend. And one of the key witnesses in this, so Mark and Lisa have both been arrested for conspiring to murder Johnny. The key witness being Denny, who has come in and found Mark and Lisa covered in blood standing over Johnny's body. And a big problem that we see Mark's defense pressing time and time again is that his fingerprints are not on the weapon. But he and Lisa were both there, and there is so much recorded evidence of the two of them wanting Johnny gone. They hate him. They want him gone so they can be together, and that's the case against them. The problem for Mark is that he could probably get off the hook if Lisa would just work with him, because we know that they didn't do this, because we've seen what happened, and we know that he didn't do this. We know that she directly did not do this, but all the evidence points towards the two of them. And if Lisa would just work with Mark and Mark's attorneys, they could most definitely get off the hook for this man that they didn't murder. But Lisa is only in it for herself because she's a sociopath, and her mother is telling her to look out for number one. And so she and her attorneys will not work with Mark, and she is going to testify and lie about both of them being abusive and pin the entire murder on Mark.
Ooh, love that.
I would like to say that we wrap this up seeing Lisa finally getting what she deserves.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's pinned on her at the end.
Yes. There's far more evidence against her. I do think a big problem that Mark is going to have to face is these, you brought it up earlier, his consistent violent outbursts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Throughout the entire thing. And, Peter is clearly going to testify that Mark dangled him off the roof of the building over something fairly insignificant, but it was about his relationship with Lisa.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big problem for Mark's
Well,
case
and
as
Mike could also testify against, because of the time that he just shoves him to the ground needlessly with the basketball in that alley scene, which really stood out to me as a marvelous, just like, why did that happen? Like, what were they going for?
I think one of the biggest things that will end up putting Lisa behind bars and not Mark, though, is that we're going to see the testimony of Chris R.
Interesting. Is he in jail?
Was obviously present.
If he is, maybe he made a plea bargain. Made a deal.
Right.
Sort of how easy of a thing it is for Tommy to set up the recording device. The tape recorder plugged into the phone. I definitely feel like planting evidence wouldn't be above this group's moral.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
I will say this. This is something I noticed. The gun that Chris R is holding is the exact same gun that Tommy kills himself with. So perhaps Tommy actually took Chris R's gun when he was taking him to be arrested and kept that, in which case Chris R's fingerprints.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Another thing I do like about your pitch is that Mark suffers for the sake of, he always gives in right away.
He always gives in. He just walks on up to that. What else is she going to talk about in the bedroom with you,
no
dude?
Resistance.
I mean, He played a role in this. He's got to suffer.
I feel like the crazy thing about the movie is he is just as guilty as Lisa for this particular thing, at least. But as written by Tommy, is not to blame. Well, he even gives Mark that line that's like, "Hey, do you think girls cheat like guys do?" Which is just like a forgiveness of all guy cheating.
Terrific point.
Yeah.
I know guys cheat, but girls don't, right? I mean, who is
right?
If girls cheat, something must be wrong with her. It's definitely one of those situations. I don't think anybody's going to walk away thinking poor Lisa. People would feel badly for Mark.
And I like him being stuck in any situation with Lisa because he barely likes her.
He barely likes her, and she's using everyone around her. And manipulating everyone around her in every way that she can, though she's bad at it, they somehow fall for it.
Oh, do you have a title for this film?
Probably The Cell.
I love it. Beautiful. It's just as vague, and because they don't spend any time in a cell. Perfect.
Just as vague.
Yeah.
No. In various holding places within
I also love
jail.
that there is another movie called The Cell.
Yes.
Yes,
Wildly
but there is
different.
also another movie called The Room and another movie called Room.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of parallels. The
Yes.
only thing I think your pitch might suffer from is lack of Tommy himself, which is hard because he died.
Flashback. Obviously, we're going to have to reenact what they're claiming happened, all these various things, but he wouldn't be the main character, unfortunately.
I would argue that he's not the main character in The Room.
I think Lisa is the spoon.
Mark is the
I would-
second lead, so that makes Tommy
Yeah,
third.
even though he is it in so many ways.
Yeah.
I am curious if you went the same route, Nick, or if you found a way to bring Tommy into your sequel.
So, all right, you want my pitch?
Yeah,
Are
I mean,
we moving on?
do you want to go next? You want me to go next? All
I
right,
can go next.
cool.
That's fine.
As far as I'm concerned, you can drop off the earth. That's a promise.
I am reinserting Tommy into the Johnny into the movie, into the sequel. Now, like I will, and this is my excuse for it. Denny, Mark, and Lisa are not doctors. You hear sirens at the end of the movie. You don't really know if Tommy died or not. Johnny. All right. So my movie starts 6 years later. You hear a faint beep of a heart monitor, right? And then snap cut to a hospital bed. Johnny pops up out of the bed.
Oh, he's been in a coma.
He's been in a coma for 6 years. He looks around. The room is empty. There's no one there. It's a long-term care facility. He takes off all of his stuff. Inexplicably, his clothes are still there. He puts them back on and just walks out of the hospital. It's nighttime. He's wandering the streets of San Francisco. He walks up to his old house. He tries his keys. They don't work. He doesn't know where his car is. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a note. It's just an address. It's way outside of town, but it's just like an address. No other thing, scrawled on a piece of paper. He finds a way out there, probably takes a taxi, even though he probably has no money, but that's fine. Arrives in a mobile home park. Dilapidated, broken down, no idea what's going on. Knocks on the door. After a few seconds, Denny answers the door. He looks very disheveled, looks very strange, odd, obviously on drugs. Very happy to see Johnny, though. Invites him into the house, sits him down. They have a long conversation. Denny was kicked out of the apartment as soon as Tommy went into long-term care by Lisa, who has taken the opportunity with Claudette to take control of all of Johnny's finances, all of his holdings, and his power of attorney. And she's basically wiped him out clean and taken everything, gotten back together with Mark, and they're living off of all his money, high life society in San Francisco. Denny, because he's now a convicted sex offender, his living situations are more limited, so he has to live in this mobile park because he's poor and also can't live within 400 feet of a school. So Johnny is enraged by all of this, but not surprised, and he tells Denny that it's time for them to take revenge. And Denny says, "Okay, I'm on board. I know just the guy." They hop into Denny's probably like 1987 Buick Skylark, cruise over to Oakland, and meet up with Chris R., who is still friends with Denny because he buys drugs with him. Obviously, has been continuously buying drugs with them. Chris R. provides them with an arsenal, and they basically, like from then on, it's a revenge story with Johnny, Denny as a sidekick, and they are just undoing all the wrongs that Lisa has committed and Claudette has committed in the name of him. And they kill Claudette, and then finally, the final scene, they've in a penthouse in San Francisco, they found Lisa and Mark living together, and there's a standoff, and just at the last minute, Mark realizes what he's done, and he turns on Lisa, points the gun at her, and just shoots her in the head. There's a catharsis there, and Johnny and Mark can become friends again, and they just rebuild their life from then on with Denny as their adopted son.
Man, I feel like they immediately got to go play football.
Probably go play football, yeah. But there will be an immediate turn from bent on revenge to we're friends again, just in a split second decision.
Oh yeah, of course. Would there be scenes of Mark and Lisa?
We would never actually leave Johnny's point of view. There would be some spying, You know, the way they really find out about it and get all the confirmation is him and Denny are like spying on them, seeing what's going on. They see Claudette at these fancy, you know, galas. They see the different apartments they have, because I assume that Johnny actually had a lot of money, you know, because he was providing for everyone. Figured out a way to steal all that. You know, but
and do you have a title?
I think it would be called The Last Bed, which doesn't really make any sense, but I think it kind of encompasses the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last bed.
Whew, that was excellent. And I am so delighted already at the various directions chosen. I thought there was only so much you could draw from, but there is a lot. This movie is rich with seeds.
I know, right? Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, once I decided Johnny didn't really have to be dead, I knew how Johnny might finish.
Well, and I feel like the way he shoots himself is not the most tried and true way to kill yourself. I feel like you got to go under the chin.
Correct. Because if you miss the brainstem, you just go out the back of the neck, and it's very possible.
All right. Well, I'll finish us out with this sequel pitch.
Danny, don't blame too much. It may not come out right.
I drew through the disaster artist what we know about an idea that Tommy really loves. So I'm sure you'll see what I mean. Okay. So it picks up immediately after the room ends. The police arrive, and the head detective very clearly suspects foul play, saying he'll be keeping an eye on Lisa. He mentions that he knew Johnny, and that Johnny helped them bust a wanted drug dealer, Chris R. So then, Johnny's ghost starts to haunt Lisa, and then makes love to her. The lack of sex scenes in the vault, I really doubled up on in this. Okay. Lisa and Mark continue the relationship, with Mark being just as dismissive and angry toward her as ever. They make love. Couple sex scenes right off the bat. Gotta have it. One day, Ghost Johnny hears Lisa on the phone, or talking to in person, I guess, with Claudette. Seems more likely they'd be talking in person, talking about her breast cancer. That night, he goes to see Claudette at her home. Turns out Johnny is not just ghost, he is also vampire. Cheap. He turns Claudette to vampire. She is now healthy and vampire, but personality-wise, she's the same. Johnny turns Mark to vampire. Cheap. Mark stops liking Lisa and is now attracted to Claudette because she is also vampire. Mark and Claudette make love.
Oh, God.
Heartbroken.
I hope the scene is drawn out as the rest
I sure
of the
hope so.
sex scene.
No reason.
It's like a much older woman and a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look how young.
Either way, fantastic.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Heartbroken, Lisa turns to Ghost Johnny, and they make love again. The detective comes to arrest Lisa, but Ghost Johnny kills him. Lisa thanks him for always protecting her and apologizes for the affair with Mark. But turns out Johnny's plan has always been to turn everyone in Lisa's life to vampire. Cheap. He does, and then they all come over to her apartment and devour her. Ghost Johnny laughs triumphantly, and I call this the haunted room.
Oh my God. I first of all, I love that halfway through your pitch, it became in Tommy's voice. It
it's
helped
hard.
it immensely.
Yes, my favorite thing about the delivery of your pitch was the lack of the word a or the when talking about vampire. Yeah. That was perfect.
I love that he has a whole plan in the afterlife to get back at her, but it's subdued and not revealed right away. So the audience is left wondering. I love the idea of him laughing at the end, because it would just be
And it almost seemed wrong to follow up on the breast cancer thing, but I thought good way to lead into vampire.
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
He's actually helping her.
He's trying to help her because everyone loves Johnny.
Right,
He's
and Lisa's
sensitive.
the true villain, of course. All right, so then we'll have to do this by votes. Basically, the way it works is you can vote for as many as you like. I liked all of them, so I feel like I'm going to vote for all of them. Maybe you can't vote for your own.
I think really we all have to pick one
Yeah.
that isn't our own. Is really the only way to do
Yeah, I
it,
think
right?
that's a good call.
Ooh, all right.
My vote goes to. Oh, this is hard. I guess I have to say The Last Bed, and I love The Cell, but I think it's just if you have Tommy, you know what I mean?
Oh man, there's something that I can't pass up about the haunted room. And of course, it has the required sex scenes.
Yeah, I honestly I cannot pass up the idea of seeing Johnny try to play a vampire, and it has to be done. So that's got my vote too.
Awesome.
What a story, Mark.
You just slap some teeth on there and it's there. You don't have to put makeup or change the clothes. Let's move on into Unsung Heroes. Hit it, Ball Jr.
Unsung heroes.
It's a hard one because this is a movie where everybody is very aware of every even small part that exists.
Nobody really talks too much about the guy who gave the excellent delivery of the line, Lisa's looking hot today.
Yeah. The guy at the party.
to his girlfriend or wife or whatever. Yeah.
I do love just getting that assurance that she is hot and beautiful.
She is hot. She is so sexy.
Yeah, that's an excellent poll.
I would like to know what exactly happened to Claudette.
Yeah, that's true. Or in the special features of the room, she's the only one interviewed in the behind the scenes documentary. Like no one else is interviewed at all. It's just like footage. Yeah. She's the only one who gives her 2 cents, and she just seems like a real professional, talking nice about everybody. And yeah, it was nice.
Which may be why that's the only interview that we see.
Yeah, no one else,
because
no one else was even willing to be nice.
Yes.
But the only one I put down is when Lisa makes the announcement for everybody at the party to go back inside and have some cake. There's a person off screen that says, "That's a good idea." That I really liked.
Oh, gosh.
And then with you guys, if I could, I wanted to introduce what is ultimately a brand new segment that I call Rad Ads.
Ads.
Movies and TV make me buy things all the time. You know what I mean? If someone is able to write something into a movie, it makes me want that thing. I bought all the Game of Thrones beers. Pizza. Okay, it made you want pizza.
Yes. It made me want pizza.
A half Hawaiian and Indian bacon and half
with easy
pesto artichoke pizza.
Yeah. You think of everything.
Literally the 2 least appealing flavors of pizza I could possibly imagine. I know there are fans of Hawaiian pizza, but I'm definitely not. And
pineapple is probably my favorite pizza topping, so I'm in that other category.
I have to be wanting pineapple on my pizza. Like if somebody ordered a pizza and they were like, "We're getting pizza," and I'm like, "Yeah," and then it showed up and had pineapple on it, I'd be confused. Because it's just it changes the flavor of the entire pizza. So I'd be like, I wish you had told me this was Hawaiian so that I could be stoked for that as opposed to just pepperoni.
That is my issue with it. It overwhelms the flavor of the pizza. And I do like a grilled slice of pineapple. Hot pineapple itself is great, but on a pizza, it just overwhelms the flavor profile and just ruins the pizza for me.
Pickles is another thing I love on pizza. I love pickles on pizza.
And you get the white sauce too. You do like the Alfredo.
Not always, but yeah, I also, when we order pizza here, I like the white sauce from the particular place. I don't know why. Yeah. How did we get here?
As Tommy would like, a very American
product
conversation.
Placement, as far as other things in the movie that I would buy, as far as seeing a product that obviously makes the time more enjoyable for everyone, and it just looks like they're having a great time. Is a specialty brand of liquor that is half Scotch, half vodka.
I had so much trouble figuring that out in my mind when I watched it because they don't say it's Scotch, but it definitely looks like she brings up the idea of drinking. She brings in what already looks like brown liquor, and then pours vodka in it. So yes, it's super odd.
Then pours vodka, and the vodka.
And then they continue drinking vodka.
Yeah, the vodka's obviously just Smirnoff or something.
That's a choice that even Tommy considered. I don't understand how that was made. Like, why not just hand him the brown liquor?
Yeah, or like if and there's no mixers that go with vodka. Like you wouldn't have vodka and Coke.
I've heard of that, but only in a British voice.
Yeah, I would have to assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume that was meant to be like diet soda or something like that. But I can't imagine somebody pouring hot soda into some, like, let's pour vodka in this hot soda. Like, that's more ridiculous to me than pouring vodka in scotch.
I mean, at best, it looks like tea. Like, it doesn't even look like apple juice. You know what I mean? Like, it's a non-alcoholic thing. It's hot tea. Or warm tea. Or, it's...
I like 100% want it to be scotch and vodka. So I'm sticking with that because that's what I want it to be
and
in my head.
It's the funniest version of it. Yeah.
Nothing about
even knowing that, I
would taste good.
Scotch because they're having so much fun.
I would absolutely buy scotchka. Yeah. 100%.
I mean,
I don't drink anymore.
I mostly have a list of things this movie didn't make me want. It did not make me want wine. It did not make me want champagne because the champagne they're drinking looks weird. It looks like Miller High Life. Yeah.
It's like Andres.
It did not make me want cheesecake.
It did not make me want
hot
chocolate.
And that's where we differ. That's where it got me was both hot chocolate and mint tea. Those were the first two things that were said that I was like, oh, I haven't had that in a while. It's a weird thing for an adult to order, but
it's an interesting character to drink hot chocolate in the middle of the day.
He likes quintessential American classics.
I would purchase various elements from a Tommy Wiseau workout clothing line.
In the room, one of the inserts that's included is Tommy Wiseau underwear. Is a thing that you can buy.
Yes.
Do you own some already?
No, the underwear. I really don't want Tommy Wiseau that close to my genitals.
No. I definitely workout gear. Yeah,
the like sleeveless hoodie, the gloves.
I did go in and throw away all of Nick's black satin boxers.
What black satin boxers did I ever have?
Like the ones that Mike left behind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the ones that Mike left, which was a was a tragedy.
Those look like gym shorts, though. Those did not look like boxers.
as he described it. Those were
me underwear. Yeah, me underwear. Yeah.
Undies.
Oh boy, a comic genius cut down by this film. What a tragedy. I've kept you guys long enough, at least in terms of talking about this. So before we head out, is there anything you would like to plug?
Well, I think that this coming week I'm going to have to play The Room. What is it called?
I think it's
The Room Tribute, I believe is what it's called. I'm going to have to play that on stream now. So I am live on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Twitch at Erin Marie OMG, and I'm going to have to play The Room Tribute now.
Geez, if I could plug anything that I would love for people to watch, it would probably be the Top That rap from Teen Witch.
Yeah.
So go out and watch that.
I've only heard tell of it on How Did This Get Made.
It's pretty amazing.
All right, cool. Right on. Well, I'm just going to take this opportunity to do something that I don't think I've ever done on this podcast before and say, if you like what you've heard, like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It's also on Spotify, Stitcher. Any support is appreciated. So thanks for listening and all that. Well, we gotta go. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Final tally, 27.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
On the next follow-up showdown.
The movie we're here to talk about, She's All That. Our guest today is Adam Hoffbauer.
As I found it to be kind of written by and for no one, but I have an alternative casting that I think would have made the movie substantially better.